All right, so this will be covering how to find a line of regression using a calculator like this. Whether it's an TI-84 Plus or you have the new fancy schmancy ones, it should work the same. So when we input our data, we get the variables that we need, which are mainly the slope and the y-intercept. So the homework has the questions with data points just similar to this. You enter it into, in this case, if you're using your calculator. If you don't have one of these, by the way, and you're just listening to this because you want to, that's cool. But again, if you don't have one of these, then there's no reason. So you can move on. But the homework has the setup with y equals mx plus b, and that's pretty common. In statistical analysis, they like to just use other things or just jumble it up just for fun. Why? I don't know. So rather than m, you might see a next to the x. You might see a b, or you might even see it just like this. You might see the value by x second. Regardless of whether they call it A or B or whatever, just as long as you can identify what value they're telling you is the slope and what value they're telling you is the y-intercept, then you should be fine. So again, to reiterate, the number by x is the slope, and the other number, whether it's second or first, is the y-intercept. Going back to our algebra days. Okay, so we're going to use these values and we're going to input this into our calculator. Now the first thing you want to do, you can see that, is you hit this button right here, stats, or statistics, right? And you should see this, and this edit part means we're going to edit our list. We're going to put data in. And so if you hit enter, and we have list 1 and list 2 and more. Now, if you have data in your list already, there's an easy way to clear it out. You move your cursor up to highlight that L1 or L2 or wherever it is. You hit clear, and then you move your cursor down. Boom, all gone. So typically, you want your X values to go into your L1, your list 1, and your Y values to go into your list 2. So to enter them, we're going to enter them this column all at once. So you hit the first one, you hit 10 and hit enter, then 12, enter, 2, enter, 0, enter, 8, enter, 5. Not too bad. And then you move over and you want to make sure that these line up, right? So if you have 10 here, you want 70 right there. 12 was here, so you have to have 65 right there. It's really easy to, especially if you have a lot of numbers, to miss one. So, you know, I guess be careful. Don't do that. All right. So once you have it in there, it's saved. You don't have to do anything special. So you're going to hit stat again, and then you're going to go over to calc, C-A-L-K, for calculate. And there's a bunch of stuff here. But what we want is the line of regression. So what it's, you know, it's not spelled out, but it's there. So you go down to number 4, and they show you that they're going to give it to you as AX plus B. So the number that they say A equals will be your slope. The number that they say B equals will be that y-intercept. And then they ask you, like, hey, do you want your X variables to come from list 1? And do you want your Y variables to be from list 2? And if you put them in that way, you're good to go. So you hit enter, 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 and then you get down to calculate, hit enter again. Thinks about it, and it tells you that it's in this form, AX plus B, and it tells you the A value and the B value. Next, in a little bit, we'll talk about R, but not just yet. So here we have the slope, since A is by X, so A is our slope, and we're going to round that to about 2 spaces. So we'll say the slope is negative 2.67, and the y-intercept will be 96.78. So altogether, the line of regression, that equation, will be y equals negative 2.67x, and since that's positive, we have plus 96.78. Okay. So earlier we had a graph, and but as we can see here, we have a negative slope, right? And that relates back to our graph, right? This is lines going down. And so from that, we can say that as the number of absences increases, because we're always increasing going that way, a student's grade will decrease. We can see that from the data. So the more absences a student has, the lower their grade is. Weird how that works, huh? And then here it says estimate a student's grade if they had 14 absences. So since we have the equation now, we could substitute that value in for X and get an estimation. So since absences are X values, this was our equation. We're going to substitute 14 in for X and do the math. So 14 is higher than, our highest one here was 12. So getting up to 14 absences tells us that we're going to be, our grade's going to suck, right? So we're going to have negative 2.67 times 14. And then we're going to add in 96.78. So their grade will be approximately a 59.4%. All right. So that's how to enter it on a calculator. You can also use that website if you watched a video previous to this, and either one works just fine, whatever you want to do.